How does racial injustice in the U.S. impact persons of African descent living in the Caribbean? That was one of the questions posed to Dr. Will Moreland, an African-American leadership and personal development expert who himself was subjected to racial profiling in the U.S. Dr. Moreland was a guest on Let's Talk and Kiss Nevis recently on Voice of the Caribbean Radio.
We can see what happened to the U.S. We can see what happens when you allow this to just fester and fester and fester. So what issues do we have here in the Caribbean that we need to start addressing critically and in a timely manner so it won't explode like a volcano? So what's going on in the Caribbean that we want to change, that needs to be changed? What are those underlining conversations that you're having at your dinner table that you know is not right? It's not time for complaining, it's time for action. And so I'm calling, as you know, I work with government leaders all around the world. I'm calling for leaders to be leaders. I'm calling for leaders to have courage to say what is not right and what needs to be fixed. And so specifically here in the Caribbean, as you mentioned, the classism, and how do we deal with that? What do we want to be known for? Do we want to be known for an all-inclusive environment?
Dr. Moreland, who has 8 years experience in the U.S. military, grew up in the city of Compton, which had a reputation of gang violence and drugs. While growing up in Compton, Dr. Moreland said he was subjected to police harassment and racial profiling.
And this is no exaggeration. Maybe 3 to 4 times out the week, we would get harassed by the police, whether we were just walking down the street or hanging out at the park or anywhere they felt we shouldn't be. You would automatically get pulled over, get questioned, get harassed. I can't even count how many times I've been put in handcuffs and set on the side of the road because I fit the description, or they just wanted to ask questions. So definitely what we see, and that's probably the most saddest thing for me, is now 40 years later, 30 years later, we're still seeing and experiencing the same thing.
He believes people of color in the U.S. must be in influential position in order for change to come to America as it relates to racial equality.
You know what? Black Hollywood may not be as yet big as Hollywood, but we have to start somewhere. Our basketball league may not be as big as the NBA, but the NBA is nothing without us. So let us come together. Let us sacrifice. We may have to sit out a year for them to listen to our demands. Are we willing to do that? And that's probably the biggest hurdle I see for us doing that. So what I tell people to do before the collective, before we get there as a community, let's get there as an individual. And what does that mean? That means taking personal responsibility for your own economy, for your family.
Dr. Moreland currently lives in St. Martin, where he operates his company, Dr. Will Speaks. The full version of the interview can be heard on demand at www.voiceofthecaribbean.net on the VOC On Demand page. Andre Huey, SKN Newsline.